Do you want to hit massive power on your forehand? Then this is the video you need to watch. We're going to give you a roadmap from head to toe of what you need to do to create massive forehand power. And the very first thing we want to talk about is your stance. It's so important because how you set up pretty much dictates how you're going to use the ground force. And that's key number one, how we're going to use the ground force to create more power on your forehand. It's not about muscling, it's about using your body the correct way. So we have two different stances. We have the open stance where we're going to be open to the court and focus a lot on rotation. Then we have the neutral stance. We're going to be slightly sideways to the court, and we get the benefits of transferring our weight forward and some rotation. Now, the keys to the open stance are making sure that you set up by rotating your core, which is something we're going to talk about in a further video. But the stance is going to actually have your feet facing towards the court, whereas the neutral stance will have you facing slightly sideways, but still rotating in the core. And the biggest difference is you're going to be stepping and transferring your weight forward. Now, situations when you want to use this. The open stance is best used when you don't have time. The ball's coming fast, you don't have really time to step into the court. When the ball's a little slower, a little bit more in front, stepping in is preferred because you're going to take a little time away, you're going to transfer that weight through the ball, which is the best thing when you have that time to move up to the ball. Since we're talking about legs, the second really important thing is what we call toe position. Now, most people don't think about what position is your toe in and what direction it is, but it's hugely important. How you use your toes will allow your hips to open a little bit more and allow them to rotate more. And this is something that I don't hear a lot of people talking about. So in an open stance, it's really crucial on your outside leg that when you set up and you actually get to the ball, you want to slightly shift your toe inside the court. What this does is puts your hips in a position to open up more. If you make the mistake of on your last shot or your last step pointing sideways, what this is going to do is lock down your hip. Now, in some situations, you will have to turn sideways if you're on the run and you just don't have time, but you'll see that most pros, when they have the option in running, they slightly turn this toe inside the court, which gives them more ability to rotate, and that's hugely important with the open stance. In the neutral stance, what's really important is your front-facing toe. As you step forward to transfer your weight, you don't want the toe facing sideways. Again, this is going to lock down your hips. You want the toe slightly facing inside the court so it allows you to rotate more and transfer the weight. It's so important to get these toe positions right, because if you do, it's going to add that much more rotation, which means power and racket acceleration when you're hitting the big, powerful forehand. So now it's time to do some drills that you can do at home to improve your leg strength and power. Now, we're using a steps kind of ladder deal here. You can use anything at home that just elevates, because this will help you really promote this outside leg. So what I want Megan to do is take her first step, loading the outside leg, and really watch how what she's doing is she's angling this front toe, which is so important to creating more tension here. She's loaded up their legs. There's a lot of tension there, which she can now use the ground force to come across and create more power. So could you go ahead and demo that once? Very good. Notice as she comes up, she's rotating her hips. This next one, she's gonna rotate and hold after she lands. She rotates the hips, really good. Notice how her legs are facing slightly this way because she rotated, and it gives her an opportunity to recover back into the court. And that's for the open stance. Now we're going to talk about the neutral stance. Now the difference with the neutral stance is now we're going to transfer our weight forward. The same thing is that we're going to use our outside leg to establish this first step like she's doing. Now she's going to step her foot forward without transferring the weight, and now as she swings, transfers the weight. Very good. If you do that one more time, but segment it, so go ahead and do the outside leg, take a step forward. Now freeze. Again, notice how her foot, her toe position isn't sideways, it's slightly facing in the court, which is going to allow her to open up her hips. Go ahead. Now, if you take these two drills and completely practice this over and over again, what it's going to do is build some reps so you can start really using the ground force, which is the key to having a powerful forehand. We just finished talking about the legs, which is a crucial element of the kinetic chain. Now we're going to move up to the core. The key to understand is that we have the power from the legs, and now we want to talk about our unit turn. The very first thing we want to think about with the unit turn is rotating with my upper body, which creates separation. What separation is where my shoulders are rotating past where my hips. If you notice my hips are facing forward, my shoulders are rotating a little bit more. What this does is create energy in my core, which now I can release when I'm trying to rotate. So it's really important because most players make this big mistake is that when they do the unit turn, what they do is just rotate their body. And you can see how my hips and shoulders are facing in the same direction, which really gives you no true buildup of the energy. You're not taking this flow from the ground up to the core. Now, if you just do this, even if you do the ground force with the legs, nothing's there. So it's really crucial that when I'm in my open stance, I'm here. And you can really see how if you do this, you're gonna feel a lot of pressure in the core, a lot of tension, because you're creating and storing and stretching energy that you can use later on. For the neutral stance, it's really important. As I turn here, notice how it's the exact same position. My hips are facing this way, my shoulders are facing this way, which still keeps me in that tension position with the unit turn. And then I can step forward and then swing, unleashing that core tension that I've created. Now that we've done the unit turn, you've got this set up, you've got this separation inside the core, what do we do with it? How do we start that swing? And this is really, really key because I think one of the biggest mistakes most players make is right here, so listen up. So we've got the unit turn, either in our open stance or neutral stance. How do we start our body? Most players think creating more power is swinging harder with your arm, and that's totally incorrect. The correct way is actually to open your body, meaning my core first, which then pulls my arm along for the ride. And again, most players make this mistake that they're thinking, I'm gonna hit the ball bigger, which means I need to swing first with the racket and the arm doing all the work. And what happens is the core gets shut down. So when you go out and you're trying to swing faster, don't think of the racket. Think of how we can uncoil the core that we've coiled up in the unit turn first to have the racket lead, which then allows my hips, my hand, and my shoulder to be lined up at contact. And this works the same way with the neutral stance. And that's the correct way to create more power with less effort. Not thinking about the arm, but thinking about how we can uncoil your core. So now let's talk about rotation size. And you're probably wondering, what is that? We've just talked about how we're gonna initiate with my core and then my arm, but we don't wanna stop here. We wanna have this continue through so the acceleration is really nice and smooth. So to think about this the right way, as I'm initiating with my core and then my arm follows, I'm gonna pull all the way around, which is so, so important. You're not trying to just open up your core and swing hard to the contact. That creates a little tension. We want to think about swinging all the way through and having a very big, full swing, using your body to rotate all the way around. Now it's time to do some drills that you can do at home to really accentuate the more power that you're gonna get on your forehand. And the way we're gonna do this is by using the medicine ball and Mr. Ian Westerman in here, and we're gonna focus on just what we worked on. Having that separation in your unit turn, initiating with the core and having that full rotation size coming all the way around and not cutting it short. So what we're gonna do is first have him set up with the unit turn. Notice how he's got great separation with his shoulders facing backwards and his hips facing forward. It's really, really important. Now he's gonna initiate his core first and pull the medicine ball all the way around. And notice now how his shoulders are facing this way and his hips have rotated all the way around. This is so, so crucial. And you can do this against a wall, you can do it with a partner, whatever works for you, you can do it at home. Just find a wall or a situation to do it. Now he's gonna toss it to Megan, who's off in the background, and work on the exact same thing. And you can see how this is combining all the things we've worked on. With the legs loaded, the core initiating from the core and having a full rotation size. This is what you can do at home to really train yourself to create that separation and that tension that you can now unleash into the ball to have a more powerful forehand.
If you'd like a comprehensive step-by-step guide on how to control every aspect of your ground strokes, go check out our coaching program called Academy. You can get in for just $1 at www.essentialtennisacademy.com. Now that you're on the right track with how to use your feet, how to use your legs, and how to use your core, you can start to see a pattern here. Energy is flowing up from the ground, up through the body, and now it's time to start talking about what to do with your arm and your hand. And this is critical. Most tennis players, unfortunately, are powering their forehand with their arm muscles because they aren't good at the elements that Kevin has talked to up until this point. And so they don't coil, they don't lead with the body, they don't use ground force, and as a result, their arm is actually doing the hitting of the ball, which leads to their arm being extremely tight and tense, and they end up muscling the shot. And it's critical that you understand that if you do your job with the first several elements that we've presented in this video, everything from the shoulder down should be ideally as loose and relaxed as possible. And this is a 180-degree shift from what most players are used to. The better you use your body, the better you use your legs, the more relaxed your arm should be and can be, because the stroke is being powered by the rest of your body. And so the more relaxed and loose you are, the more your arm can flow, the more your racket can move freely and naturally and uninhibited. And that's why high-level players look really flowing and smooth and efficient. They're using the correct parts of their body at the correct time, and it allows the smaller parts of their body to just flow smoothly and freely. If your body leads and your arm is relaxed, then what happens next as a natural byproduct is what a lot of players and coaches refer to as a lagging of the racket. And all that simply means is the racket transitions into pointing back as the body starts to pull forwards. And so as the core and as the legs and as your hips are doing their job to start the swing, if the arm is loose and relaxed, then the hand and the racket will naturally lay back. This is critical. A lot of players try to force this position because they see their favorite player doing it on TV, and the result is something that's super jerky, not very flowing, not very efficient, wastes a lot of energy, and dramatically increases the likelihood for injury. So don't try to force this. It should be a byproduct of being loose and having your body lead. And also please know that depending on what grip you have and what style of swing you use, the actual position might be different. World-class players sometimes have the racket face facing down with the tip of the racket pointing back. Other times the racket might be on edge, up and down, with the strings facing to the side. Other times still, with a really big backswing, you might see the strings facing more back towards the back fence. All of those could result in world-class shots. It really depends on a lot of other variables that we don't have time to get into in this video. Just please know that this should be a natural byproduct of being loose and relaxed and having your body lead the swing first. So how do you work on this looseness and this flow, and also the lag, which is something that's really kind of crazy and elusive for a lot of players? We have a drill that's really helpful to feel what it's like to do it correctly. What Kevin's gonna do is grip the racket without his bottom three fingers. His pinky, his ring finger, and his middle finger are all totally off the grip, so he's just holding on with his index finger and his thumb. And as Kevin starts to drop and hit a couple balls here, you'll see that his racket head is totally loose and free. Even if he wanted to try to grip down and get super tight and tense and keep it from moving around, he really wouldn't be able to do it. But this is even better. It really kind of accentuates it if you also focus on loosening your hand up and your wrist. And so we've recorded a couple slow motion clips with the iPad, and we'll play those right now so you can see the kind of position that Kevin's racket is dropping into. And you'll see that he's getting into that really kind of desirable classic lag position. And that's what helps create so much of the racket head speed that you see professional players using. So do this drill, really emphasize that looseness with your hand, and you can start to get a sense for what that lag is like. And then if you can carry that over, go ahead and hit a couple normal shots now, Kevin, with his full grip. He's still gonna try to create that same loose feeling. And you'll see in some slow motion clips that his racket still gets to that really similar position that he was doing in the field drill.
Now that you understand how to use your body effectively to create that powerful forehand, we now have to figure out how to make the ball go in the court, right? So that means that we need to work on creating a little bit of margin and a little bit of topspin so that you can hit the ball with that heavy amount of pace and still make it consistently in the court. That's the key. You can hit with all the power in the world, but if you can't make the ball, it's not gonna help you. So this is gonna be crucial for you to understand that. Now, most people think that you're going to hit an inch above the net over and over and over, and that's gonna work out for you. And it is not. That is a myth. Not even Federer hits 1 inch over the net consistently and is able to make it in the court. So it's really important to be able to get some height, okay? That 1 inch ball means it's a direct path. So you're not having any racket drop below compared to the contact point. Okay, the amount of height that you're getting over the net is directly proportional to the distance between your lowest point of your racket drop and the contact point height that you make. The more distance there, the more height you're going to get over the net. So that direct 1-inch ball means that it has no differential between the bottom of your racket drop to the contact point. Means you're coming directly at the ball, which is great when you're really inside the court and you're going after it. Awesome, do that all day. But when you're back at the baseline, you need a rally ball that you can rely on consistently to go in the court, and you don't want to poof ball it over. You want to be able to use all those things that we've been talking about in this video to create a very powerful forehand that's still going to go in the court. So it's really important to understand how to make sure that you are coming up to the contact point, that your racket drop is actually getting below where you're going to make contact. Now, the lower you drop, the higher the ball is. You don't need to have a 10-foot ball to be consistent over and over again, but you really want to hit that 3-foot to 5-foot window right over the net. That's kind of the money ball. That's the rally ball that you know you can make consistently from behind the baseline and be able to feel like, okay, I can rely on this ball when I'm stressed and under pressure and everything you feel like is against you. You know you can hit this forehand with a good amount of pace using all that power and still make it into the court consistently 3 to 5 feet above the net. So we're really now going to talk about the drill that you can go home and do that's going to help you to create this consistent ball while still using all that power and create that heavy forehand that you're really looking for. The first thing you want to do is get a rope, and you want the measurement to be about 3 feet or so over the net, because remember, we're aiming for that 3 feet to 5 foot window. You're gonna rally with your partner from behind the baseline, and your goal is to think about the height of the ball that you are hitting. Now remember, that is created between the differential between the racket drop, the lowest point of the racket drop, to the contact point. So if the ball's going too high, then your differential is probably too big. If the ball is going below that 3-foot rope line, then your differential is probably too small. So you need to find that sweet spot so you can hit topspin consistently over that net. It's all about finding a groove and being able to hit a lot of balls consistently in a row and see how many you can do. So try to do 10 in a row, 20 in a row, 50 in a row. Make a goal, go out, try this drill because it's gonna make a huge difference in being able to have confidence in your forehand power. So not only can you hit the ball with an extreme amount of pace and power, but you're also gonna be able to make the ball in the court and make it count.
Now let's start to put everything together into one kind of comprehensive drill so you can work on actually hitting all these different pieces at the same time. And please know, you're probably gonna have to stick and hang out at one of these drills a little more than another. Everybody has a little bit different skill set and is at a little bit different place in their journey with their forehand or their backhand or their serve or the rest of their game. So let's watch Megan here as she demonstrates a great drill to work on starting to ramp up your speed, but doing it in a very productive way so you don't overdo it. So she's gonna start off at 50%, and she's gonna begin at half her full effort. That's what 50% means, and hit a couple balls at that pace. And at 50%, you should be able to put all the pieces together after a little bit of practice on each of those elements and be able to make 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 out of 10 at half speed. Now she's gonna go up to 6 out of 10. Rather than go up to 10 out of 10 and say, okay, sweet, I got it, and just go right up to full speed and see how hard you can hit it, which is fun, but not very productive, she's gonna just take a small incremental step. And so you'll see she added a little bit of pace, but not a ton. Now she's gonna go to 7 out of 10, so 70% of her max effort. And now things are starting to get more like a typical rally ball. It's probably a little slow for her. There you go, a little more confidence there. And so your goal is to find a pace here where you can still make a majority of the 10, but be really confident and aggressive and start to train yourself to ramp up your speed more. Let's go 8 out of 10 now, Megan. So we're getting close to her full speed now. This is starting to look like a pretty aggressive, like maybe forcing offensive shot in a rally for her. She's still making almost all of them. I think that was the first one that she's missed, which is a great sign. Now let's do 9 out of 10. Now things are gonna probably start getting a little bit shaky, and as they should. almost full effort is something that you should almost never do in the middle of a real point, unless it's a really easy ball and it's just sitting there for easy pickings. So if she were to try 10 out of 10, I'm guessing she'd be happy with like making half of them, which in real life isn't really gonna help you win very many tennis matches. 50-50 flip is not really super helpful. So experiment with this, see where your threshold is. Some players won't be able to go up to 6 out of 10 without making a bunch of mistakes. Your goal is to slowly but surely increase your ability to be a little more aggressive while maintaining control over all the technical elements we've talked about and the shape of the ball, and be competitive and consistent at the same time.